Now, I recognize that this isn't the most popular thing to talk about, or rather to side with, but here's the thing. I believe the science. More importantly, I believe the science guy. I believe Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I know what some of you are thinking already. Oh god, he's gonna go all SJW on us. Oh blah. What a beta male cuck. You know what? Here's what I hear when I hear stuff like that. I can't argue based on substance, so I'm just gonna insult you with buzzword bullshit designed to shut down argument and debate. That's what I hear. And that's pretty much what it is. It's just people screaming stuff like virtue signaling and running off. So, let's take a look at a recent episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy's new show in which he talked about gender and the gender spectrum. Now, some people already gave their opinions on it, so I thought that in looking at that episode, I could better understand it and the points it was trying to make, and I will take that and compare it to the points that its opponents are trying to make. So, let's be fair. Let's see what one Mr. Buddha had to say about the episode. What did his arguments amount to?
I mean, dude, name the smartest people in the world. They all think this gender fluidity shit is bullshit.
Buddha doesn't actually quote or cite any of these so-called smart people he brings up. He doesn't have any evidence to support his claims. But he does have this.
My pussy! My pussy, my pussy talk!
Straw man. I haven't seen that in a while.
My pussy.
This is how all feminists act. I could make a whole video that's nothing but this. In fact, I think I will. Then we have the YouTuber No Bullshit, who brought up this old attack. The idea that, oh, you don't really know what you're talking about.
Calling yourself a scientist is being pretty generous to say the least. You're a comedian, a performer who has a bachelor's degree in engineering, which is nothing to scoff at, but that doesn't make you a scientist. You aren't and have never practiced science in any professional sense.
That sort of
He's
matters
not the only
just
guy
like
who
in
made
a
this
field of
argument.
medicine. You can be a doctor,
So
but
did
it doesn't
the
mean that
host
you're
Steven
qualified
Crowder.
in all realms of medicine.
Okay, bypass should be a piece of cake. Now count back from 10 as that anesthesia kicks in.
I'm so glad I had the best heart surgeon in New York. 10.
Well, I'm a podiatrist. This is just my passion.
Since these idiots couldn't be bothered to do the research, I decided to do it. Reading from factcheck.org. Nye has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Cornell. He also has 6 honorary doctorate degrees, including PhDs in science from Goucher College and Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. He's held various positions as an engineer between 1977 to 2009, such as contributing to the designs of the 747 planes for Boeing and the design of equipment used to clean up oil spills. From 1999 to 2009, Nye worked with a team at NASA and the California Institute of Technology's Jet Propulsion Laboratory to design and create the Mars Dial, a sundial and camera calibrator attached to the Mars Exploration Rover. Nye also holds 3 patents: a redesigned ballet toe shoe, a digital abacus, which is kind of calculator, and an educational lens. He's written books on science, including Undeniable and Unstoppable, which covers evolution and climate change respectively, and this all in addition to decades of work in science advocacy and education, including acting as the CEO of the Planetary Society and teaching as a professor at Cornell. So to sum up, he has a degree and experience working in engineering, which is an application of science, and he's spent much of his career working with and for the scientific community, so he knows what he's talking about. You don't. God, you're stupid. You could, I mean, I found this in a 5-minute Google search, okay? A 5-minute Google search. Ugh. Getting all worked up. Sorry. Next one.
Bill Nye is now diving into the magical fantasy land of progressive identity politics.
It's not magic, my friends. It's science!
And he's doing it by his show, Bill Nye Saves the World. And I've only seen bits and pieces of it, and I'm not gonna watch it all the way through.
Oh,
But
you're just
now
off
he
to a
wants
great
to
start
play
by admitting you're not
make-believe
even
and
gonna
say
watch the
stuff like,
full
"Oh, gender
episode."
is on a spectrum like sex, you know. There's such a thing as like non-binary and stuff like that. When before, like any other science or scientist that has come before him has just said there's two genders and they're determined by the chromosomes. Something that he said himself as well.
Before you're born, your mom gives you one of her chromosomes and your dad gives you one of his. Mom always gives you an X. And if dad gives you an X too, then you become a girl. But if he gives you his Y, then you become a boy. See, there are only two possibilities. A girl or XY, a boy.
Many months later.
I used to think there were just two settings, male and female. But it's actually a lot sexier than that.
I don't know about you guys, but there's absolutely nothing sexy about this whatsoever.
And
we're
yeah,
going to be
Stephen
talking about
Crowder
gender
made the
today
same
because
argument that,
he's making
oh,
the case
Bill
that gender
Nye used
exists
to
on a
believe
spectrum. By the way,
this.
very different. If you
Now
go back
he
to his old
believes
show,
this.
He did say that chromosomes determine gender. If you go back to the episodes when we were a kid. So he's done a 180
Amazing how
on that.
2017 just changes science.
Completely changes science.
Once again, these guys didn't actually do their research. One, that woman doing the X and Y thing from that Some Black Guy YouTube video, and yes, his name is literally Some Black Guy, that isn't Bill Nye saying that chromosomes are definitely where we get your gender from. That's the end of it. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's not him saying that. She's bringing that up in an episode about probability. The idea that the gender you get is basically like a flip of the coin. Here's the thing though. One, even if that was true, that was back in the 1990s. And I remind you, back in the early 1990s, we still didn't think there was water on the moon. We didn't think there was water on Mars. Now science has shown that there's actually ice and the like on both planets. Science marches on. As more research and study is done, the science changes to keep up with it. Furthermore, Bill never actually said the quote that you're seeing right now. According to Snopes.com, they did the research. That's not a real meme. It's not a genuine quote. It's from a 5th season episode entitled Genes, in which Bill Nye is explaining how humans generally have 23 pairs of chromosomes. He's not actually saying, he doesn't actually say that. He doesn't actually say gender is determined by your chromosomes. That whole, you're either X and X or X and Y, that's from probabilities, not from genes. They're just completely taking stuff out of context. And when you have to do that, that's when you're being dishonest. That's when you know you can't debate on the substance.
To a very short, he says, well, you know what? And now some scientists or some doctors are maybe believing that the male brain and the female brain, particularly of a male to female transgender, might actually have more in common with the female brain than a male brain. In other words, saying that brains can have genders, brains can have a biological sex. Now, here's the thing. He makes that argument. We'll talk about that on Thursday, more in depth. There's one study that makes that. We've talked about how actually the brain changes occurred after cross-sex hormone replacement therapy, and a lot of transgender people were mad, and they cite one study where it deals more so with gray matter in the brain. Well, there have been numerous studies since then trying to recreate that study with more reliable forms of studies that have never been able to prove that. Bill Nye is saying maybe some doctors now believe that it's possible with the brain issue. Well, again, science. Bill Nye, isn't the burden of proof at that point on you?
Okay, here's some studies that dive into the biological proof that the gender spectrum actually exists, and that there is a biological basis for claims that no, all this transgender stuff is not just made up out of nowhere. How's that for evidence? How's that for proof? These guys have nothing to offer. They don't have intelligent opinions. They don't have evidence to support their claims. All they have is insults, poor research, lots of attacks and straw man, and of course...
Alright, I think I went a little overboard on that.
No! You think?